more than learning how the sport worked, it was learning how in the world am I going to be a coach for this team? How am I going to do the logistics side of the team? Because not being a skier, the knowledge base that I was bringing to the team was not how do you slalom, how do you jump, how do you trick. It was how do we get from Lafayette to Conroe? How do we get from Lafayette to Baton Rouge? What's the travel going to be like? At the same time, while I'm in Houston, I'm in Dallas, I'm on the road traveling myself for my job. When I'm not on the road, I'm in the office. I've got regular, 9 to 5 duties that I have to do. So a lot of the time, I had to do these things after work, after 5 o'clock, sometimes till 9, 10 o'clock at night, because my bosses were like, "Yeah, I'm fine with you doing that as long as it doesn't interfere with your job."
I think knowing from being I was a roommate while Taryn was captain, so I saw everything she was doing, knowing what she was doing, and then looking at who would do it afterwards, I kind of felt responsible that I had that insight. So I was like, oh, I need to, I know how to do it, so I'll do it. And then knowing how things ran and knowing what I could bring to the table in terms of keeping everything organized, I just felt like I naturally just fell into that, whether I wanted it or not. It was I just fell into the position.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Water Ski Podcast, episode 25, with Harry Spavin and Ryan Gonzales, the team captain and coach, respectively, of the Ragin Cajun water ski team, the water ski team of the University of Louisiana. I did this interview about a month ago. I was in Louisiana for a nostalgia trip, seeing some friends at Bennett's and in Lafayette. A few days before my dissertation defense. So throughout that trip, I was able to bring my microphones with me and get a few interviews, one of them being this one, which I think you guys are thoroughly going to enjoy. It's a great view into how this team has been managing to be successful for the last few years, and then some good stories from Spav and Gonzo, all the way leading up to the win at the Nationals, at the Collegiate Nationals of 2019. Before we jump in the interview, I just wanted to say a few words, probably controversial. I've been noticing just from social media, from the online world, and by speaking to skiers, that it seems to me skiers are not taking the problem that we're facing worldwide very seriously. This comes from someone that has family who has been in lockdown, in true lockdown, for about a month, and friends at home in Europe as well. And also from someone who has been self-isolating for about 3 days with symptoms that lead me to believe that I might be having COVID as well. And I've been as cautious as I could possibly be, and yet I'm having these symptoms that it's either the flu or it's the COVID, and I guess I'll know about it soon enough. But luckily I'm well in terms of I have a bit of fever and I just can't smell or taste anything. But yeah, no respiratory problems, luckily. But I am self-isolating myself for a while. And just for any skier that dares to or cares to listen, skiing is not the priority right now. Just be smart, take care of your health, and think and act as you may have this, so that people that you love won't have it either. I just wanted to say this before we jump into the next episode. Be smart. Be smart about this. This is real. It's here. It's everywhere. Be smart. public announcement or private announcement, I guess, aside, enjoy this interview. This was a lot of fun chatting with both Gonzo and Spav. And just a side note, the Florida ski, which was originally scheduled for the end of April, obviously has been canceled, as a lot of events until, at least in the United States, until mid-May. With that said, enjoy the episode and keep in touch. Sweet. Well, guys, welcome to the Water Ski Podcast. Thank you for being here with me, sitting down and talking a bit about Cajun ski, I'm here with Harry Spavin and with Ryan Gonzales, the team captain and the coach of the team, respectively. And we're going to start with you, Spav, just a little bit of the classic question that I ask to everyone. How'd you get into skiing? Tell us a bit about you.
Well, just like every other water skier ever, my family did it. I went out to the lake as a kid. My dad was the main driving factor. We had a caravan on a lake in England, and we'd go out on the weekends during the summer holidays. He'd actually forced me to tournament ski those two lakes. So it was set up slalom jump lake, and then the back lake was a recreational lake.
Was this at Hazelwoods?
No, it's Lound Water Ski Club.
Okay.
It's like 35 minutes from Hazelwoods. And he'd force me to tournament ski to let me go on the back lake to go tubing, to go kneeboarding. I used to ride a wakeboard, unfortunately. But
okay.
And I'd have to ski whatever it was twice a weekend on the tournament lake, and then he'd let me ski on the back. I loved it. I had two older brothers. We'd go on 72-inch jump skis. We'd drop one. We'd kick each other off. We'd fight, and like that was it. We'd wrestle on the tube, and then we have a tournament every year called the Lound Open, and pretty much the Hazelwoods crew come in. They bring their drivers, the boats, and we run a tournament at Lound. And I'd do the tournament every year, and I'd literally ski on the Friday night, maybe the Saturday morning, and then head over to the back lake, and all the tournament would carry on. And it was George Hazelwood who said one year, he's like, my kids train like all year round, and they come to this tournament, and your son doesn't even ski, and he skis in the tournament, and he's like 2 passes behind my kids. Like, he's good. He needs to ski. And after that, my dad was like, well, okay, I guess we'll have a look into this. And then that winter, it was maybe like 2011, I winter trained for the first time on the river, because it's the only lake that didn't freeze in England.
Oh, there you go.
So I trained like that. The year after, I started going to Hazelwoods, and then literally in at the deep end, slalom, trick, and jumping every day, every weekend. And then 2 years later, we joined Hazelwoods, left Lound, and then full tournament skiing for like the last, 8 years.
Was that a tough transition for you? Because obviously, like one thing is to ski seriously with a deal with dad, and then going in the back lake and kicking each other's with one jump ski, and then all of a sudden, or gradually, sounds like, you ended up taking it seriously and doing slalom tricks and jump on the day.
Yeah, I guess that first winter, I was like 13, and I had to wake up at 7 a.m. to drive. It was like plus 2 degrees Celsius maybe, and like it was a tough winter for a 13-year-old. But like after that winter, it was like, well, I've done it all winter. I don't even want to play anymore. Like, I've done all the hard work. Like, what's the point in messing around now?
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And what were so that was 13. At what age did you come to Lafayette?
Fall 2016 was my first semester.
And you were 17, 18?
Just turned 18.
18.
Or I was 18.
Okay.
Just turning 19.
Okay. So in those 5/6 years,
Yeah.
like, did you represent the UK? What was your...
Yeah, I was on the team from 2012, and I skied every Europeans from 2012 to currently. I've never missed one, actually.
Oh, there you go.
And then I skied the World Championships. My first one was in 2013. I skied again in 15, again in 17. And so I've been on the team, the British team, every year after my first year.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Any good memories?
Yeah, 2014, I won my first medal in slalom at the Europeans. That was a highlight my last year as a junior under 17. The year after, I won a bronze medal in the jump event at the under 21s. Mm-hmm. That was my first year in under 21, so that was a super big moment. And then more recently, we won the team gold at Europeans in 2018, maybe. There's the one in Rockbrunn a year or two ago.
Under 21.
Under 21. And then also in my last year as a junior, 2014, we won the team gold as well. So we have 2 team golds in my last years of under 17 and under 21.
And see, we're going to get to this, but this is so key to me because, as you know, I'm a European skier too. A lot of times you don't mention those team medals, but you brought them up.
Yeah,
and
I think because like when we won it in 2014, like the whole like British water ski made a big deal of it. Like we hadn't won a team gold in a long time.
Right.
I think the last time was maybe like when Will and Tom Asher were on the team back in the day. So.
Yeah, no, and I think, for sure. But I think it might be also a big deal for you. Yeah. And it might explain why you're in the position you are right now here.
Yeah.
And why you work so hard towards the team. Because, I mean, as we know, this is a team event. You can do very well as an individual, but at the end of the day, everyone wants to win the team championships at the nationals. Yeah. Which brings me to you, Gonzo. Okay, Ryan Gonzales. Why? So this is a cool thing because, first of all, Spav, have you managed to get the guy on the water?
We have not. I know there was a pact in 2015, 2014. If they won, then he'd get on the water. They won in 2015, and he said he would, and I don't think he ever did. And we made the same deal with him this previous fall, and we actually have a video of him saying it now, so there's no backing out. So we want to put him on the water, but we're scared that it might injure him and we might not have a coach. But he's on video saying that if you guys win, I will
in
ski.
my defense, the initial offer was if you win me a ring, I will ski for the first time, not ever being a water skier. And when we did win, they said, "Oh, it's time for you to go over the ramp." But I was like, "Hold on, I never mentioned anything about the ramp."
Right.
And they would never drop the ramp part. So since then, I've been refusing to ski. When we get to California, I said, "All right, if you win me a ring again, I will not only go over the ramp, I will trick and slalom before the end of the year."
Wow. So you went full on.
So we're going to do it before the end of the year. It's my promise.
Your hands are shaking as you say that.
It's a scary thought.
Yeah. Well, but that brings up the point that, you are at the helm of the current national champion team and you're not a skier.
That's right.
So tell us the story. Like, how did you get into this position?
Well, my first interaction, but first knowledge of the team goes back to 1995 when I actually started as a student at the university. Mm-hmm. That was when they won a championship. So, being on campus, seeing it in the papers, seeing it, I knew that we had a championship team. Forward a couple of years, 2005, I started working at the university in the recruitment office. And again, another year that they won a championship. So being on the road, traveling as an academic recruiter, it was one of those things that we would brag about on the road. It was something to brag about. And forward again, 2010, there was an ad in the school paper. Well, let's back up a little bit. 2009, I was asked to take a group of water skiers on a campus tour. It was the Canadian junior team on a campus tour. So again, 2010, a year later, there's an ad in the paper, in the school newspaper, for an advisor for the ski coach. And the ad ran week after week after week. And so I finally called a friend of mine that was running rec sports. And I said, "Hey, what's going on with the water ski team? Why isn't anyone, picking up this opportunity?" For me, I saw it as an opportunity for faculty or staff member. And he said, "Well, to be honest with you, it's quite political. There are scholarships involved. You answer only to the president. There's a lot of things that are going on with it other than just being an advisor."
A pressure position.
Yeah, it was with the history of the team in the championships, it was a lot of pressure. And so I asked him, I was like, "Well, what do you think about if I just do it until we can find somebody that's, qualified to do it? I would hate to see us lose a bragging point for the university, a selling point for the university." And he said, "Look, man, as your friend, I'm telling you, I would not touch that with a 10-foot pole." And hearing that and knowing that we would lose that, I said, well, look, we'll just sign me up for it until we can at least find somebody more qualified. And he said, look, man, I'm telling you again, as a friend, I would not go near that. You just don't want to do that to yourself.
So this is 2010 or 11?
It's 2010.
Okay.
Well, no, this is 2010, right after they had won. So
yeah,
in the fall season, 2010.
Yeah, we won that one. I mean, yeah, it was my senior year, so I remember that very well. It was good.
When I told him that, he's like, well, it's not that easy. You have to go and you have to interview and you have to get approved. And I said, well, it's kind of weird that I would have to go through all these hoops for a job that nobody wants. And
right.
He said, well, like I told you, it's a long tradition, a long history of the team. You're only going to answer to the president. You have to get approved by the president. And so a couple of weeks later, I get a call from Mr. Davidson, Jimmy Davidson, the original founder of the team, and he wants to meet me and talk with me and see if he thinks I'm qualified to do it. And we went and sat down at, I think it was Outback. We went to Outback Steakhouse, and I met with Scott and Linda and Mr. Davidson, and they grilled me. I mean, they were like, what is your daily work life? What do you do? Have you ever done this? Have you done that before? Do you have any water experience? And I had some water experience, but it was on the search and rescue side. I was a rescue swimmer for the sheriff's department.
Right.
And so they were, they thought that was at least qualifying. They thought the travel that I was doing as a recruiter was qualifying because they knew how to do all their paperwork and all that
right.
kind of stuff. And then, of course, the recruiting aspect they thought was another thing that would help out for the team. So a couple of weeks later, I get a call from Mr. Davidson, and he wants to have lunch with me at the at Don's Seafood, and we went and we did that, and he, said we approved. We're gonna, recommend you to the president to allow you to be our next coach. And I was like, wow, it's great. I'd love to, and again, this is only supposed to be a temporary thing.
Right.
So a couple of days later, he invited me over to the to go to the ski lake and meet the team and, go and hang out with you guys for a little while. And we went out that day, and I got in the boat and watched, and I was instantly hooked. I mean, it was just so impressive. One of the things that impressed me the most was watching the team. I don't remember exactly who it was in the water, but watching them coach each other, knowing the level of the skiers, watching them coach each other was so humbling, knowing that they were taking instruction from each other. I was again instantly hooked.
A rarity in collegiate sports, right? Because obviously at the NCAA level you have multiple coaches, but then even at the club level you have a figure that is generally like the person giving instructions, right? Whereas I think what's super cool about collegiate water skiing is that we sort of coach each other as skiers. We try to help each other out.
Yeah.
So and that hooked you
instantly. And then what made it really, the thing that got me even more hooked was our first tournament when I saw the families, and here's this great rivalry that we have with ULM and all these other schools, watching the team interact with the other ULM skiers and watching the families and hearing the stories and seeing how all of it is one big giant international family. It was like, wow, this is something I can see myself being part of. And from then on out, I was just like, I'm just going to see this through and have, except for a few times, never really wanted to get it far away from it. So,
yeah. Okay. I mean, it's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. And we'll get to some of that work. Now, it may be fair to say that Harry is your right man, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And
right-hand man.
I think one of the challenges, and I speak from personal experience, that you had when you became the coach was learning pretty quick how the sport works, right? Not necessarily on the coaching side, because as you said, like we coach each other and we can take care of the skiing side, but everything else, right?
More than learning how the sport worked, it was learning how in the world am I going to be a coach for this team? How am I going to do the logistics side of the team? Because not being a skier, the knowledge base that I was bringing to the team was not how do you slalom, how do you jump, how do you trick. It was how do we get from Lafayette to, Conroe? How do we get from Lafayette to Baton Rouge? What's the travel going to be like? At the same time, while I'm in Houston, I'm in Dallas, I'm on the road traveling myself for my job.
Right.
When I'm not on the road, I'm in the office. I've got regular, 9 to 5 duties that I
Yeah,
have to do.
exactly.
So a lot of the time, I had to do these things after work, after 5 o'clock, sometimes till 9, 10 o'clock at night, because my bosses were like, "Yeah, I'm fine with you doing that as long as it doesn't interfere with your job."
Right.
So I don't know if you remember or not, but a lot of the times when we were figuring out, how we do this travel thing, I was in Houston or Dallas, and I was on the phone with you asking for your numbers. Like, I said, how much money do we need for travel? Where are we staying? How many are skiing? Trying to figure all that out. At the same time, developing networks all over campus that I knew were going to be necessary to make this possible.
Yeah. I think that's one of the cool things, right? Like, I remember those days, but as a skier, you need to understand that up until then, we were completely self-run for like a couple of years, right? I mean, Danielle Bennett was obviously the key figure the year before the 2009, and then 2010, it was primarily Stina Sonnegaard and myself kind of as seniors trying to run things. But now, at least we had someone that was helping us figure it out, so it was challenging, but the degree of challenge went down, for us as skiers,
Yeah. And that was one of the bigger things. It was a longer conversation I had with Stina. Was she was doing so well in her studies. If I remember, she was a perfect student.
Yep, 4.0.
4.0 student. And a lot of times I would go in, I would ask her, "Hey, I what do I do here? What do I do here?" She's like, "Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm trying to make an A. You'll figure it out."
Exactly.
And I had to respect that, and that's what I wanted for her. I wanted her to finish strong. And I relied on you guys to teach me those things, how we're going to do that. But a large part of it was, like I said, developing the networks all over campus that would help me figure those things out.
Right.
And it worked, and it's been working, and it's been successful. And we couldn't do any of the things we do without the large network of people that we have on campus that love us and want to help us.
And we're gonna give some shout outs at the end of this for sure. Like, people, I'm big into recognizing those that help. I want to turn to you, Spav, and see, like, how did you get the team captain position? Let's start with that.
I guess my first semester, 2016, I'm trying to think of the timeline of how things happened. I came, and Cole Grant was the current captain. He graduated after my first semester, and it was passed down to Taryn Grant, his sister, and she was there for 12 months, I think. And then Taryn was going to be graduating. So it was like, when she took over, she was like, I know I'm going to be graduating in a year. So she like actively went out and looked for a replacement for herself.
Right.
And then I guess I helped her to do stuff in the spring. She started to as she'd fill out the forms that you do before you go to a tournament, register the team. This is how you use USA water ski. Like, I knew how to show up to a tournament and ski, but I had no idea. I mean, I only just figured out the American registering system myself to do an international tournament.
Right.
So registering a team, I had no idea. So she taught me that stuff, what to do. Like, obviously, we show up to a tournament and we have a wallet full of cash to pay for all the skiing, to pay for all the hotels, all that stuff. Like, how does that get in your hands? Like, the relationship with Ryan on actually getting to the tournament, she just did that without even batting an eye, and I was just like, oh, cool,
right,
the tournament's free for us, great. But then she was like, well, actually, you need to do this, you need to do that. The week up to a tournament is not just skiing for her. She was like, I have to go see Ryan on the Monday, I have to get this ready, we have to make sure the vans are she explained the whole process to me, and it was really good to have that 12-month period where she kind of taught me to then she graduated and I took over, and it was I already had sort of a plan. I mean, it did take me a long time to figure it out by myself.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier when someone's telling you, click that button, go do this.
Right.
But then all of a sudden it was she was out of the picture. So it was like, oh, wow, I have to do that myself. Crap, how do I do that? So that was, I don't know when the year was, 2017, spring 18 maybe? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Spring 18, I had the inaugural dinner with Ryan at Don's Seafood. He told me about the responsibilities, the duties of a captain, what Taryn did beforehand, what Cole did before that, what he does, what he expects from me. And then from then on, it was like, well, I'll do this, you do that, and we'll figure it out from there. And that was 2 years ago now, and it was a rough first semester figuring everything out, but better at it now.
How was it, like, what motivated you to be that person for the team?
I think knowing from being in, I mean, I was a roommate while Taryn was captain, so I saw everything she was doing, knowing what she was doing, and then looking at who would do it afterwards, I like kind of felt responsible that I had that insight. So I was like, oh, I need to, like, I know how to do it, so I'll do it. And then knowing how things ran and knowing what I could bring to the table in terms of like keeping everything organized, like I just felt like I naturally just fell into that, whether I wanted it or not. It was like I just fell into the position.
So sort of like having, as you said, like an inside view of what it took for tournaments and things to be possible, and almost like I don't want to say a calling, but like a responsibility that you felt, okay, now it's my turn.
We had that semester before, in the spring semester, we had spring 2017, I think we had 7 graduates, like Dane Meckler, Janina Bonneman, all those guys of that age. We lost 7 people. The next fall, we had 11 freshmen.
It was a lot.
11 freshmen. So
it was the first time I actually felt scared being the coach. It was like we went having you guys left initially, but we had that easy transition because we only had 1 or 2 leaving off, one at a time per year. This was the first time since I had taken over that we had that many people leave the team. I mean, I don't know if Harry remembers, but I was almost in a panic stage because she was getting ready to leave herself. And that was right when Harry's coming in. So I'm still thinking Harry's still a freshman. He wasn't, but it was still in my mind. Harry's part of this new fresh batch of skiers that are coming in. And I mean, I was in panic mode. Like, what am I going to do with all these new people? I have to teach all these other people. These are team responsibilities. These are my expectations. This is what we don't do in public. This is what we do in public. This is what I need from y'all for us to be successful. And when Harry, Cole set the bar, Taryn raised the bar a little bit, and here's Harry's chance to come in and prove to me I can either meet or raise the bar. And for me, that was a very, very nervous period because we have been working, going uphill ever since. And I was like, first time I was ever really starting to get nervous.
I can see that. I mean, like you have 7 seniors going out, 11 freshmen coming in. And on the skiing side, I mean, Harry, you'll tell me, like they were all great skiers. I mean, this is one of the best teams in the nation, if arguably, not the best. So the skiing level is high.
Yeah.
These kids come in, they know how to ski, they know how to contribute to the team from a skiing side.
Yeah.
But collegiate skiing is more than just skiing.
Completely different. Yeah,
right.
You're right. I guess having Taryn that first semester when those 11 freshmen came in, like it was great because she gave everyone like the rundown on this is what we do. We're at the lake. We drive each other. We coach each other. I mean, everyone that came in, all the Europeans, they skied for their own countries. They skied at Europeans. The Canadians, they were on the national team. Like
no pressure.
We'd had people ski at titled events and they know how to ski. But then showing up to a lake with a boat and 20 college students, it's completely different. You have to pick up the responsibilities when, like, Ryan's going to do the travel paperwork to get us there, but actually getting there is also the team's responsibility.
Yep. Drive the van.
Yeah, for Team Great Britain, I showed up to the airport, flew on the plane through to wherever it was at Europeans. You practice times here, tournament starts here, team coach, here's the schedule. Poof, you just did it.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, oh, well, we kind of manage our own schedules. We talk with Ryan and say, hey, we want to get there at this time. We want practice this day. We will do 18 people here. How are the teams going to fit? Who picks the teams? There's 5 spots for each event. Like, we pick that as a team. We all sit down and decide who skis. And it was a complete, I mean, every collegiate skier must face the same problem when they first come in. Like, wow, I'm a great skier, but now I need to become a great skier for a team. It's completely different. So that first semester was with those 11 freshmen, a big change.
Yeah, and I think that's probably, if you speak to anyone who has gone through the collegiate water ski scene, they will tell you it was a big transition, but making that transition made it for the best 4 years of skiing in their life.
Exactly.
You know?
It's a big part of growing up as well. You know, when you realize that the world is bigger than yourself, and I'm doing this, I have these duties for others. It's like being in the military. Everything you do is for your brothers on the side of you. That's what they have to do. They have to ski for each other. It's no longer skiing for that PB or skiing for this gold medal. I may only need to win fourth place to get the team over the top.
And I think you can speak at length about this. It's even more than that. You're representing a university that, fortunately enough for the University of Louisiana, invested money into your education. How do you make the team understand
not to interrupt,
that?
but it's even more than just that. I mean, when you're skiing, especially for the University of Louisiana, either at ULM or at Lafayette, you're skiing for a 40-year and a 30-year-old program. You represent all that history. You represent everything we stand for in the world of collegiate water skiing and the world of water skiing. And so you're on a world stage, and you also represent the future of the program. It's a lot more than just the university, but then you're also representing the state. You know, you're representing the entire state of Louisiana, the university currently, the history, and the future. So it's a lot of responsibility.
And I can tell you as an alumni, I mean, I still, watch the Nationals, want the team to do well, curious about who goes there, trying to help. I can see that. You bring up a good point. Is that also because you said at first what really impressed you about the skiing, collegiate skiing, was skiers helping each other, like grow in their skiing levels. What else kept you in? Because you said it's a lot of work, it's voluntary work, right? Like you're taking time, you can't even take time away from your own work, so you're taking time away from your personal life to do this. What else over the years has helped you push through?
Well, I don't know if you remember or not, but when we had our first team meeting, it was at my brother's house.
Oh yeah,
I remember that. Gumbo.
I remember that.
And I tried to install the meeting with the Roberts rules, and we're gonna have this, and we're gonna do all that. That kind of didn't really work out, and I figured, this isn't the right approach. So I went outside because I was getting frustrated because it was not working. And I went outside with you and Stina, and both of you were like, hey, you're on your own now, buddy. We're graduating. You're going to have to figure this out sooner or later. And it's going to have to be much sooner than you think. And so I thought about it for a little while, and I went back inside, and I let them know the reason I'm here is to help you survive. You almost... without, if I had not stepped in, you wouldn't last much longer than now. You're gonna have to learn how to figure out how to run yourselves as a team. I'm here to help you as much as I can, but you guys are gonna have to run this operation. And I want this team to never be in that predicament again. That's always been the thing that keeps me up until 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night in my office working, is knowing that eventually, no matter what happens to me, I get hit by a bus, I get fired, or retire, the team will go on without me.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to ever happen. I mean, I still have 15 years before I retire, hopefully. But if something would happen, I want them to be so self-sufficient that I'm almost negligible to the team.
Yeah.
So that's what drives me to stay with the team.
And what does that involve? Because you said, obviously, a lot of your job is to create those connections and then network within the university. Mm-hmm. So a bit of a double-sided question. One, is that what is going to allow the team to continue?
Absolutely.
And two, how much did it help? Because I remember those days. Like, we won nationals in 2010, and we were a small team that year. Like, from a skiing side, everyone had to do it. I can't tell you how many times we lowered trick runs just to make sure they were, solid.
stand up.
Yeah, it was like we were not that many. I think the whole team was 13 skiers.
Yeah, we're at like 22.
You know what I mean? Like there wasn't a lot of trials that year.
Yeah.
But we knew, like, even though we won, and the Vermilion covered us, and we had good. Like, we knew that we had no future if someone didn't come in. So did it help in those first years for you to create the network, right, that we had won that year?
Oh,
was
absolutely.
It, you know what I mean?
When I think the most shocking thing to the university leadership and to myself as well, was that our rival was an in-state rival.
Oh, yeah.
And, nobody likes to lose to your in-state rival.
Nope.
And when my boss is one of my bosses is the vice president of enrollment management.
Yep.
So he is also in charge of scholarships. Scholarships office reports to him. When I went and told him, hey, I'm going to be running the ski team, he's like, oh, that's great. And I told him a little bit more about the history. He's like, well, yeah, our number one rival is ULM. And he's like, well,
I see.
what do you need? And I was like, I need some more scholarships. And I need to be able to break down the scholarships that we have so that I can make them more enticing. I can get the kids to come in on an academic scholarship and allow them, that saves me a half scholarship that I can give to another team member. Travel, I needed people to be able to do the travel work for me in my place while I'm in Houston or I'm in Dallas. I needed people to give me things like spending ability on a corporate card, university corporate card, that low-level employees don't usually get. All those things were just, I can't tell you how many boxes of donuts and king cakes and 6 packs of Coke that I spread around the university, just developing those ties and going and telling the story of the ski team and saying, man, you wouldn't believe what these kids are doing and what they're capable of achieving. I just need your help doing it. And they all just were like, oh, I want to help you. And it was and is still a lot of work to maintain those, because the same people aren't going to be there possibly next year. And
Yeah,
then
jobs
you have to go start
change.
this all
Yeah.
over again.
And I'm curious to hear. So this seems to be like integral for the continuation of the ski team at UL, the way it's been going on, right? But as a skier, as a student, do you feel that the university is catching up? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I remember my first semester here, I got my team uniform, I walked around with my water ski team shirt on, like wore it with pride, and people would be like looking at it like, what's the water ski team? Like, where's the mountains? Like, no, water ski, not snow ski. Like, come on, guys.
Right.
And then, like, I remember coming back after California this past year. We just won, like the Vermilion covered us. We were in the paper. We were blasted all over social media. We did our own social media. I went to class with my water ski shirt on, and some guy stopped me in the street and says, hey, you guys just won. Like, good job. Congrats. And I was like, wow. Like 3 years ago, I was explaining that it was a water ski team, not a snow ski team. And now this random guy down the street just stopped me and said, congrats. Like, he knew who we were, that we just won.
Yeah.
So I think going back to what you said in the past, like that winning, definitely it spreads through campus. The student body finds out, the departments find out, when like everybody hears about it.
Yeah.
And that works wonders for the team.
I think also integral to that is the amount of work that Harry and Taryn put into our social media. That social media that they have done is almost as big of a team player as they are.
Right.
It's like the 23rd team member, if you will. That's how we get a lot of the word out, and I know it's a lot of hard work, and I had to pull their teeth to get them to do it, but it's finally catching on, and
nowadays it's crucial, isn't it?
It's absolutely crucial. I don't think we could have gotten where we're at now on campus. Like Harry said, you could approach student, it was 50-50. They either knew we had a water ski team or they had no idea that we had a water ski team. And then the ones who did know knew that we were champions. But there was no in between. It was And that has really gotten the word out around campus, gotten the word out into the community. Everything we do, we brag about it. They're really going overboard, per se, with the Instagram. It's really, it's really a great tool to have.
Yeah. And it seems to me like, as you said, it's either the student that you met on campus, hey, you guys won, or complete not even knowledge that it existed.
Yeah.
And it sounds like nowadays the gap is being filling in the middle, right? So, and I think social media certainly. What other like initiatives have you guys taken to spread the word out about the ski team?
The social media is the big thing. We now have a relationship with the university social media. So if we blast something out on ours, they pick it up and repost it. They share it. So we're actually on the official account that has whatever, 10, 15,000 followers. So the whole body sees that. I mean, the ski team, I think we're at like 1,500 or 2,000, whatever the number is. So they're like 10 times the amount of followers we have. So they're blasting it. I mean, we run international because we're 22 skiers and maybe 5 are American.
Yeah.
So we're not Americans at an American school. So the international office blasts our international stuff. We run like, I don't know, we just ran a small little campaign last year. It was get to know the team international, and we had the team member and what they did at home. And it's like one of them, the Canadians, it's like my dad builds a hockey rink in the backyard every summer, every winter. And it's like the school blasted that. So social media is a big one. The newspaper, they're covering us more when we go away to a tournament. We just won Hog
Community
Wild,
events.
whatever it was. They cover Hog Wild. I mean, to us, it's Hog Wild. It's a warm-up collegiate tournament, but we started to make a deal out of the things that, as a water skier, just going to that regular tournament and winning just a meet, it didn't really mean a whole lot in terms of like a scream and shout about. But in the university's eyes, in the public's eyes, we just won
A tournament.
a road event. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if the football team goes away somewhere, whether they win or lose, they still blast it everywhere.
Yeah.
And then we just started to define success as a different thing. Like what we thought was amazing. Like our goal every year is we're not happy unless we win nationals. Even if we win regionals, even if we're ranked number 1, like if we don't win nationals, it's miserable that week after.
Right.
Like,
I
but
know
then,
that well.
But then we start like, cool, we're ranked number 1. Let's blast out we're number 1. We just won regionals. Let's blast out regionals. I mean, to us, obviously that qualifies us for nationals. But like, I mean, we just started equating it to like what the football team do. They win a bowl game, not even like a title. Like it's obviously a title, but like they don't make this bowl, but they fall to this bowl. They win that bowl. Like it's a huge deal.
Right.
So
right.
we started in making things important that not necessarily we thought, but the student body and the university would like.
And it's so interesting to me because there are a handful of teams in the nation, water ski teams, that, of course, water skiing is not NCAA, but they operate almost on the same level of seriousness. And by that, I mean, as you know, like NCAA athletes have to commit 20 hours a week to, athletic-related activities, whether it is weight room, actual practice, AT work, and whatever. And I mean, I know it happens here. I know it happens in a handful of other schools. Skiers are putting that much work in, right? Skiers take the travel seriously. And I know it's actually, I spoke about it with Marcus, it's actually the minority of collegiate water skiing. But certainly here, things are taken very seriously and very disciplined. Let's turn to you, Ryan. What do you think are the advantages of not being an NCAA sport, and what are the disadvantages?
Starting off with the advantages, I have the autonomy to operate the team as I want to. I don't have people looking over me. A large part of the time, it's you're winning. We're great with that. I don't have a lot of what I would call oversight other than, hey, you turned your paperwork in wrong, or you didn't do this on time.
Yeah. There's no compliance.
There's no compliance. I don't have to worry about compliance. It's a big one. I don't have to worry about, filling all that paperwork because Harry's getting paid $10 to do a newspaper ad or something.
Right.
The disadvantages, of course, are the lack of funding and the lack of resources from the university. For example, we're not allowed to use the same workout facility that the athletes get to use. We're not allowed to, participate in the on-court presentations that they do when the team has their GPAs and
Right.
things like that. But I try to express to them, don't let that bother you. We don't need them to give us those advantages to have them. We can take those advantages on our own. We can represent above and beyond that. With the football team, the baseball team, softball team, they should want to be like us. They should want to win as much as we do. And that was one of the big things when, the social media thing, going back to what Harry said, we need to celebrate, even if we don't think it's a big thing, we need to celebrate that and make it a big thing.
Yeah.
So even if we don't have, and it would be seen as a disadvantage, doesn't have to be. It's part of the Cajun spirit. We came out of the swamps with nothing. That didn't make us weaker. It made us stronger. So even if we don't have those things, we'll still overcome that.
That's cool. That's a cool thought.
I think the biggest advantage to not being NCAA is, not every member, but they ski the Pro Tour. They have sponsors. Yeah. They receive skis. Some people receive boats. Like, as an NCAA athlete, you can't have it.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some sports that allow athletes, for instance, to take part in Pro Tour. Yeah. But it's not during the season. Okay. And they can't have any money. So, for instance, a lot of tennis players, they do the 10K, the 20K, the 50Ks to try and rack up some ATP points. Yeah. But if they win the money, they have to turn it back. Okay. Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's completely different situation.
Yeah. I don't know. During the fall semester, Malibu Open was one weekend. We had 5-6 people leave for the weekend to go ski, and they have their own sponsors. They won prize money. They got points, like whatever it was. They can just up and leave, and unless it was like a ski team commitment, whether we had a tournament, they're completely free to go and ski their own Pro Tour.
And I'll be honest with you, that's actually what attracted me to collegiate skiing in the US. Because you're from a European country like myself, university is not free, but almost, right? So if I were to come here, I wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to be more expensive than home to begin with. And luckily at a place like UL, that was possible. But also the fact that I could sort of throw myself into some pro tournaments and, whilst at school.
I think that's great for coming to school in Louisiana. Like, we have those scholarships, we have the training facilities, but you can just hop in your car and leave and drive to Malibu Open for the weekend, and your professors, they're like, okay, cool, you're going to a Pro Tour? All right, whatever. You have to miss Friday? Okay, go. You ski the Pro Tour, you're back on Sunday night, back in class Monday. Like, if you were over in Europe, you'd have to catch a flight. You'd have to go do some warm weather training beforehand. Like, it would cost you so much money to get over there for a weekend. I mean, we had 6 people. I don't know whether they flew. Some people drove. They shared a car, and like, you could just have access to that. It's unbelievable. And the weather here, like, you can guarantee skiing all year round. There's no breaking the ice to ski. It's guaranteed conditions, which
unless there's a hurricane or
the usual southern US
in the water,
right? Let me touch on that, because that's pretty impressive that, like, teachers around campus now understand the commitments of skiers, right? Even if it's non-team related commitments. And I want you, Ryan, to talk about the importance, because I know it, I remember it, even though I never skied underneath you, I was already done with my eligibility. But you always stress from day one the importance of academics. Would you mind, saying a few words about that?
And it goes back to what we were saying earlier about the success of the team and the network, depending on the network around campus. And when I have the ability to offer excuses, just like NCAA, for school sanctioned tournaments. However, the reputation that the skiers get from their academics allows them to go to those international tournaments, miss weeks of class, because the professors or the on campus know that these kids are going to, even though they're going for a week, they're still going to keep up with their studies. They're still going to maintain their GPAs. And so that keeps us being successful, because we can maintain our academics. while we're skiing, and the teachers are going to let us do it. If
It's a
we didn't-
combination of the two.
It's absolutely a combination of the two.
And I think that 20-year history we have, I know Carlo always tells the story. He handed an excuse letter to miss a week for whatever it was, nationals, and the guy reads it. The professor, 100-person class, he makes him stand up in the class and says, "Oh, this guy's a water skier. Like, I remember when I taught Will Asher. Like, they have that history. They know the ski team, and we have a great relationship with the teacher. So it's just so easy. And when it's embarrassing when the professor stands you up and is like, this guy's a water skier. He's a badass. Like,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
but like, it's amazing that the professors are actually you're not just a name and they're just like, oh, missing a week. Like, no, you have to be in class. Like, oh, we went to the University World Championships. We missed a week of school in 2016. They were just like, oh, cool. Yeah. You'll miss this assignment, that assignment, catch up, submit it online, whatever it is. But yeah, this excuse letter's fine. Like, good luck. Bring back a medal. Like,
Exactly.
And they told that I missed a week for nationals last year. My teacher came back. I told him, I came back and he was like, he heard the news before I even told him. He's like, national champions, like, so proud of you. You brought pride to the university. Like, 5 minutes about the tournament. And then he's like, okay, you missed this work. Here's my notes. Like, help me get right back into it, which is fantastic.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
So you're not only, it's kind of like skiing scores, your academic performance is not only for you, it's also for the team. It's also that we maintain this ability to ask for these excused absences, even when they're totally not school related. You know, as long as you're keeping your grades up and you're fulfilling your promise that I'm going to make up this work and it's not going to hinder me academically, then you can do that. If we get to a point where people are not performing well in the classroom and being responsible with their absences and their work miss, that's going to greatly hinder our opportunities for the future.
Yeah.
So you're performing in the classroom for the team just as you are on the water for the team.
Yeah. No, I think it's important. And as you said, like, I know that, like, of course, skiing is a club sport and every university has a body that manages or clubs, like sport clubs in the university. And I know they have some GPA benchmarks, but I've always remembered that you looked at that and like, no, it's way too low. This is our benchmark,
Absolutely.
right?
And I have a responsibility to the parents as well. You know, I'm the mom and dad away from home, you know, in some cases thousands of miles away from home. I have to maintain a certain GPA for the parents to continue to feel safe sending me their stellar athletes.
Yep.
And if I don't hold them to that, the success of the team won't be there. And
Yeah.
that won't be my goal, won't be met for my own personal goals. So,
Sweet. Well, let's do a bit of story time. Give me. Well, I mean, hey, you share
Tell
what
a
you want
story.
as you're touching your fat 2015 ring.
15.
Is that a 15?
yeah.
Let's start with you, Spav. Give me a story that it kind of. With you, I'm gonna ask you this: like, when did it hit you, right, that collegiate skiing was above skiing? You know what I mean? Like I always say, for instance, when we won in 2010, my contribution to the team was 20% skiing, 80% else, right? When did it hit you personally? Any story that you can think of when you're like, oh, no, this is not just me jumping 170 and running 39. It's like there's way more to this win.
I think it was after 2017. We had nationals at Bennett's, and personally, I skied good.
Okay.
Like I skied 3 scores across the board. I think I was second overall or something. Like I skied good, and then we did not win that year. And I look back and I thought, well, I skied great, but there's 18 other people on the team. Like, it doesn't matter if I ski great. It does matter if I ski great, but I need all 18 other people to ski great too. And after that in 2017, I was like I have a responsibility to ski well, but also that the guys next to me ski well. The girls have to ski well, and we can't win if just one person skis well.
Right.
So that clicked in 2017, 2018. I don't know what we lost by 50 points or something.
Nothing.
And like we could feel it, like it was there. We could reach out and grab it, and then it just disappeared right at the end. It was like 50 points, And I sat down and watched like the team. They were upset. We had people sat in the trailer crying. Like it was horrible to lose by that few points. And at that point, going forward, it was like, well, we no longer ski for ourselves. We ski for each other. And then this year, 2019, every single person skied for the team. I stood on the dock for every single person at Nationals. Not one person said to me, I'm nervous about my performance. All they said to me was, I'm scared to mess up for the team.
Yeah.
I had Jamie Ball come up to me. I hope she doesn't mind me telling this story. Mid-tournament, and she asked me, should I go out at 28 or 32? Do I take 38 tailwind or headwind? I'm like, Jamie, I think if anyone can run 38 in a tailwind on this site, it's you. Like,
Right.
I've seen you back-to-back 38s, like nobody's business. What do you mean? She's like, well, I just don't want to miss 38 for the team. She's like, I know. She's like, I'm thinking about the record, but like I'm trying not to. But I'm like, no matter what happens, Jamie, you run 38. What's your confidence level? If you think you can run it tailwind, I trust you. If you don't think you can, then take it headwind. And to have Jamie Ball come up to me and say, I don't know whether I can run 38 for the team. She knew full well she could run it,
Right.
but she was doubting herself for the team.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, she ran it and then almost ran the next one. But
Right.
I could not believe that level of team.
Exactly. And I think this is a great example. We're talking about Jamie Bull, like pretty much the rising star in women's slalom skiing.
Right.
You know, like baller skier. She knows about slalom, you know, like she knows about her slalom. And yet for her to come and hear from you, you know, your thoughts because she knows it's a team event.
Yeah.
That's telling.
Yeah.
You know, it's really telling.
But everybody left that dock and went, I just want to ski for the team. And I think that was the difference between this year and last year. We skied great this year. I think we had 2 people ski less than what we expected. Mm-hmm. Everybody skied expected or better. And in Nationals 2018, we had people skied less than expected, more often. Mm-hmm. So we skied great this year, but we just skied what we can ski. And I think that's what takes winning Nationals is it's not, I just ran a past PB. I just tricked 1,000 more points. I just jumped 15 feet more. It's 15 people skiing exactly what they can ski.
Yeah.
Or a buoy more, or 60 more points. I got my side slide at the end of the run. Like that's huge, especially when you look at how the points stack up. The amount of times we changed a woman's trick run to get, because they all fall, the toe run, they fall around 22, 24. And if you do 60 more points, then you fall or gain like 50 team points.
Yeah, that isn't it. So, like I spoke about it before on the podcast of how you have, like in a sense, going back to Jamie's example, if Jamie did 5 at 38 or 5.5 at 39 like she did, is not as big of a difference as your 2,200 point tricker doing 24.
Exactly.
Right? That's like 15 placements, 150 points.
And
right?
like even more important, we had Mary Lou Melanier. She's a deep 35 skier. She's ran 30 into 38 a couple of times, maybe 1, maybe 2. She fell going to 3-ball at 38.
I remember.
Like she put it all on the line, and she got 2.25 at 38. And the amount of people that got 2 or 1.5 or 1, that 5 at 35 to then go to 2.25 at 38, it's what, 3 buoys, less than 3 buoys. I think those may be 100 points there.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you lose by 60 points the year before, that 100 points, like that's winning or losing right there. Yeah. That one person.
It really is. And I think I'm assuming you guys are doing the same thing we used to do. So you actually go back in the history of Nationals a few years and you go, okay, that gap, that's where we need to go. You know, like if you just if you learn these 2 tricks, that's 150 points for the team.
Yeah.
If you get over that like 150, 152 feet hump and you get to go 160, we get, you know, X amount of points, right? Ryan, I think your team captain knows his stuff.
Absolutely.
You know, you're pretty lucky.
He certainly raised the bar this year. He not only met it, but I can't express enough how he not only met my expectations, but then went way far and above. I have finally over the last, for 10 years, got to the point where I truly, honestly feel I need to do this. Harry's got the rest. The team's got the rest. I don't need to do none of those things because they're gonna do it.
Exactly where you wanted to get, right?
Exactly where I wanted to get, and with 100% confidence.
That's cool.
This is gonna happen. I'm not worried about it.
Well, then, thinking back maybe where, you were building towards that confidence, or even more recently, share with us a story where you, I don't know, I just pictures this image, you at the lake at the Nationals sort of nodding, kind of going, okay, things are turning for the best. Do you remember like a moment like that? Could be a win, could be like something that happened on the organization side where like, okay, we got stuff together.
I honestly believe it happened the day that I asked Cole and Chris Wharton, to let me know what I'm not doing well enough for the team. This is over at the lake. And they let me have it. They gave me exactly what I was asking for. And they let me know what they needed from me. And it turned into the next day me turning up at the lake in my dress work clothes and showing them that I could work just as hard as they could. And
can you give any examples of what they brought up? Like, what was it? Because I don't think, and the reason why I'm asking you is that I don't think those were like, you, Ryan, are not doing this for us.
Correct.
I think it's more like, you're really not from this sport. Here's what we need from you that we can get on our own. So what are some of the examples?
No, it was more, you want to do all these things. You want this for the team, but we're asking you to do these things for us, and you're not really giving us what we're telling you we need. And I can't exactly say what those things were.
Okay.
But they were things that made me feel like I was not giving them the confidence that I would be there for them, that I would give them what they need when they wanted it. Like maybe I was saying no when I didn't have to, and they weren't confident that that was the only answer that I could give them. And so that next day I went and I showed them I can do whatever you need me to do. And it was a physical show of I'm going to do it whether I get dirty in my work clothes or not. Just to show you, it's symbolic. It was 100% symbolic of I don't care what you think of me. I'm going to show you that's not what I am. And I literally made them sit down on their vehicles while I did everything that I was asking them to do, just to show them that I'm here for you no matter what.
I'm committed to this.
I'm 100% here. Everything I'm asking you to do is something that I will do or that I have done before you. And if I can do it, not being a water skier, you guys can certainly do it being water skiers.
And let me ask you this, like, you're obviously passionate about the sport. Like, I would imagine, even though you're not a skier, although as Spav said, like this year you're going to get on the water, I would imagine you're passionate about, the world of, at the very least, collegiate water skiing. What have you found out about the sport that you enjoy, over the years? What are some of the things you're like, wow, this is a really cool sport? Like,
certainly the athleticism that it takes to get from one buoy to the next. The athleticism it takes to launch your body, 80 miles an hour off of a 5-foot ramp and land it successfully and not be dead at the end.
All right.
Watching Allie tumble her way over the ramp and almost kill herself and then slip right back into her boots and get right back on the back of the boat and keep going was just mind-boggling. The commitment that not only my team members have, but that the skiers have to continue to go. That level of athleticism, when especially you compare that to non-NCAA teams, it's like we're not less than you.
Yeah,
we're sometimes a lot better than you are and way more committed than you are.
Yeah.
But again, I think the most impressive thing for me is the camaraderie that all the team, or not the team, but the skiers have on a gigantic, basis is to me what motivates me to stay involved with the sport.
So like you mean the like the sport itself seems like a big family? Is
Absolutely.
that what you're okay?
Yeah. Seeing skiers from all over the world still knowing each other, and there's this giant network, and this kid may be from Chile, knows some other kid from Italy because they see each other 4 or 5 times a year, but they know each other like they're brothers, and then they can come together at a tournament and be best friends and compete against each other and only be rivals for, the 2 or 3 minutes that they're on the water, and then be best friends right afterwards. To me, that's just, it's like being in the military. You've got your battle buddies from all over the world, all over the country, 100 different ethnicities. You would live and die for each other.
Yeah.
And that's the whole entire world of water skiing. And for me, that's just, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think to give an example for that, you take Louisiana Lafayette and Louisiana Monroe. Everyone knows fierce rivalry. When it comes to nationals, we're not friends. We're skiing to win, you're skiing to win, and one of us will end up on top, whatever it is.
Right.
But then that's 1 week of the year. We run 6 collegiate tournaments per year. We host one in Lafayette. Monroe hosts one in Monroe. Hey, we get into contact with them. Could we borrow your boat for the tournament? Yeah, we're bringing the boat. What judges do you have? Oh, well, he's a slalom judge. He's a trick judge. He's 3 event. They've got their scorers rating. Without that relationship between us, you have the rivalry, but then Monroe comes to our tournament. They bring their boat. We use our boat. Half of the judges are Lafayette skiers. Half of them are Monroe skiers. A bunch of them from Texas. Everybody gets together to run the tournament, and we're all judging each other. We're judging people's tricks from another team that are gonna end up beating our team.
Right.
It's such a weird concept.
Yeah.
How many sports do you get a Louisiana Monroe skier? Well, any team. One team, team A, team B. One of them's judging team A, and they're scoring them to beat them.
Right.
There's all fairness in it because we're all judges. We have that responsibility, but you just don't get that. And then the tournament happens in Monroe. Michael Woodgate calls me, hey, could you bring your boat over? Yeah, sure. We hook the boat up, we take our boat, and whatever happens, we have that fierce rivalry, but everybody wants each other to ski well. It's such a small community. There's no way, you won't let that relationship happen. And then to touch on that even more, spring break one year, I think, I got with one of my best friends, Tom Poole. He went to Monroe.
Yeah, Pooley.
Pooley. I was in Lafayette. We met at Bennett's. We threw the bags in the car. We drove down to Florida for the week. I ski at Lafayette. He skis at Monroe. We hate each other for that 1 week. Oh, not even hate. I'd throw that out there.
Yeah,
We still want each other to ski well, and then we get in the car and go ski for a week, and he's saying, hey, chin up, head up. You're bending your arms here. He wants me to become a better skier, yet 5 weeks later, we're competing against each other, and not he wants me to lose, but he wants to be better than me. You don't get people coaching each other to be better that are then competing against each other. You don't give away your secrets in sport.
Yeah, no, and I think me and Marcus had a long conversation about that. Even at the pro level, at a time, it was a lot about livelihoods back when, we were on ESPN in the 80s and 90s, and so if Andy found out this new fin setting, it's not that Wade or Bob were going to know about it.
Right.
Or, but now, of course, the competition is still fierceful, but you have moments in which, you'll see, Freddie Winter and Chris Parrish training each other.
Yeah.
But then they're going to try to win against each other when they are at Malibu Open or whatever they are,
Yeah.
I think it's a peculiar thing. I don't know. I want to say wakeboard is kind of similar from what I've heard.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the boat. I don't know what it is, but it's pretty cool thing that really happens in skiing that you touched on.
Right. And you don't get Roger Federer telling Nadal how to play tennis.
Right.
It
it doesn't happen.
And I see that as kind of one of my responsibilities as the head coach of the Cajuns, is to foster that attitude, keep it alive. And that's why I was showing you that picture of Alex he had his ring stolen from him. And within minutes of him putting that post out there, I automatically saw it as an opportunity to foster everything Harry was just talking about. And I was the first person to give him a donation to get his ring back.
No way.
Hoping that his team, my team, the rest of the world of collegiate skiing would see, hey, look at this. The head coach of the Ragin Cajuns just donated for him to get his ring back, and hoping that that would keep this spirit alive.
That's pretty cool. Well, I thought you were actually trying to distract me with the phone, but you were trying to give me a message. I understand. That's cool. That's cool. Listen, I guess, we've been going on for, how long do you think we've been going on for? No, don't look at the phone.
45. It's going to be way over, but 45.
No, it's about an hour and 10.
About an hour.
Wow. About an hour and 10. I want to just get a few, maybe like a story. And I know you've already shared some from last year, Spav, but like, obviously you're the current champs.
Yeah. Something
that happened last year that maybe made you guys realize, okay, we're close. Like this year we have it. Because I'll tell you, as an alumni, this was, again, as alumni, you speak, like, how do you think it's going to happen? And I'll be honest with you, like all we could think about this year, I spoke to Will, spoke to Critch, like Danielle, like this is for them to lose this year. Like the hype was there.
I'll share two stories. One of them, the very first weekend, everyone's back in town. I think a couple of people were a week late, international tournaments. The first weekend, everybody's back. Ryan took his grill out to the lake and said, hey, I'm going to cook you all, like, we'll have a feed at the lake. Everyone get out there. It was red hot. The boat was out there. We were skiing. Ryan was cooking, and everybody was around, super tight. And video popped up on Instagram. Danilo Filchenko from Monroe posted he's doing some Mob 5s on his trick ski, like 2 Mobs in a run, like this crazy trick run.
Right.
Edo turns to me, freshman, I'm going to do that trick. I said, have you ever landed that trick before? He said, never even tried it. So Ryan's up there grilling some meat. Edo hops in the boat. 4 of us get in the boat. Edo goes out on the lake. He does not come in until he lands that trick. He landed it, like maybe after 4 or 5 times, like reverse Mob 5, whatever it was, and then stood his whole trick run afterwards with a bunch of front flips. Came in and was like, okay, I did it. After that, I was like, wow, like this guy's a freshman. We're all stood around. We're just having a barbecue here.
Right.
And he's like, I am not coming in until I land that trick because the guys up in Monroe are doing that. So we need to be doing that down here. I was like, dude, like you've got it. Like
you understood
that's
pretty
it.
quickly.
Week 2, like you have it. And then
it was like being at nationals. It's like you said, it was just an afternoon at the lake. They're all on the table, and he did it over and over and kept going. It's like every time they're, and it was like over. No matter how many times, like they just would not stop. And then when he finally did it, they cheered like we just won nationals. So it's the video is great, and I'm literally filming from the barbecue pit. And when he landed it, they all ran. They jumped in the water. They were cheering and
that's cool
and celebrating with him just as if they had done it themselves.
And I mean, that's just one tiny after. Like it means nothing. Well, it does. Him going out and just trying to trick and falling, but then landing it. Like, but the message behind it, I think, from that moment, everyone was like, "Well, whatever we do, we're gonna do to win nationals. Like, we have to be better than yesterday." Yeah. And then we had the Bayou Classic.
Oh, hold on, just to stay on that moment. What were your thoughts, Ryan, as you were probably flipping burgers on a grill, seeing all of this happening?
If you go watch the video, I put it on there. This is why my friends always ask me, why do you do this? My university friends who are not water skiers, my military friends, why do you do this? You're not even a water skier. You've never been a water skier. Why do you do this? Like, because of things like that. It's when you watch their level of support for each other and their happiness for each other, it's like, why would you want to do anything else? You don't. There's not many sports where you compete for the whole entire team.
That's cool. So sorry, Bayou Classic.
Yeah, it was at Bennett's this year, and the way we were training, we found our weaknesses. We knew where we were good. We knew where we were not so good. So we prioritized whether it was that girls tricker who was at 24, make her 25, or 22, men's slalom, you need to get past 2 ball at 38 no matter what.
Huge deal.
Huge deal. We went to the Bayou Classic and we skied phenomenal. 5 men's jumpers over 170.
I was there, I remember.
Like that's 5 over 170. The two who were pushing to make the team were 67 and 65. Like we had 7 men's jumper over 165. Like the depth in the team, the women's slalom team went off. The men's trick team went off. We had 5 guys able to trick over 5,000 points. Like I tricked 4,000 points last year. I did not even make the team.
Yeah, that's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. So, and just that tournament at Bennett's, it was like, I guess it was a wow, we're good, and we're actually putting practice into a tournament here. Like we all came here and peaked. Like keep this going, nationals. This was a week. Well, we didn't all peak, but hey, you didn't do so good here. We like get with him. We have trickers. Go see Guy. He's 11,000 point tricker. He'll sort this out. Work on that. Edo can trick. He can do toes. Like we assigned people who were good at that. Not even that event. Like that trick. He does a good toe. Teach that person how to do a toe.
Yeah.
And then from
maximizing resources.
Right. From Bayou Classic, we then had regionals and nationals. After that point, it was like, okay, we're good. Let's get better. And after that point, we just got better. Yeah. And it translated into nationals. Everybody skied exactly what they needed to.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, it was so fun training for nationals. There wasn't this whole skis flying everywhere and like, frustrated. Right. Like we'd get frustrated, but it's like, okay, well, let's go back out. Like, I don't know. It was, everybody just seemed to be rolling. It wasn't like you had to be like, okay, come on, your tricks are like, it's not quite there. You need to pick this up. Everyone was like, okay, I'm not great at this. They went out and like asked for help. They didn't have to be like, come on, dude, get your skis on. Like they wanted to. And it was so much fun training for nationals.
What about you, Ryan? Any story like leading up to the national title that you remember?
This year or every year? Because I've felt this way from the day I took over the team, that we can win every year. I go into every single year, every tournament, every nationals, especially thinking we can win, knowing we can win. You know, they don't want it more than we do. So why can't we win? It's not in my mind that we can't win. You know, we may be at the end of the Saturday where we know we can't win, or Harry has to explain to me, well, it's mathematically impossible for us to win. You know, calm down, coach. But
there's no girl that jumps 240.
Yeah, we can't pick up 1,000 points. But honestly, at the beginning of every season, I know that we have the potential to win. So I begin the season knowing that we have the possibility to win, and it may be up until Saturday afternoon that I finally may concede it. But unlike them, I may not feel as bad about not winning, because I know it's not the end of the world, because we have a whole nother season to come back in, a whole other year to come back and win next year. And I know that we have that possibility to come back and win next year.
Yeah. Well, you don't have 4 years of eligibility on you, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But I do have 15 years, to win 15 titles.
Dude, that's a good goal.
Yeah. I'm really anxious about getting that back-to-back, and then, getting back-to-back-to-back. And I know we can do it. And as long as we did what we did this year, it's going to happen.
Well, okay, let's get more specific. What is it going to take for you guys, and please, anyone chime in, to get the same stock at the lake, to get the same support? Like, what is it going to take to do the back-to-back championship?
Same thing. It's realizing where you're weak and doing what you can to be better in that specific thing.
Yeah.
It's
targeted.
Yeah.
It's the buy-in, it's the buy-in from each individual member to do your part. This is your particular part that you need to do to make this happen. Mm-hmm. And as long as you want to be part of that, and you just do that, it's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, we're rolling with the Cajun family motto. Like that's our motto now. It was last year. We're rolling with it for this year. And they just need to keep that commitment to each other. Mm-hmm. And hold yourselves responsible. If you don't ski well that weekend, why? Okay, now we got a week before the next tournament. Let's work on it. I mean, the guys are already at the lake now training for nationals next year. I mean, I know they might throw in a couple of tournaments in the summer, but they're out there now training. Yeah. And nationals are not won in the 2 weeks leading up to nationals. It's I mean, for some of us, it's the 10 years before that's laid the foundation. But, I mean, they're out there now working on tricks that they know they can put in for next year to get another 200 points to move up that point bracket.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's the main difference from last year to this year, which we will keep going forward, is just people holding each other accountable.
Yeah.
And holding yourselves accountable. And that's what they're doing to the utmost right now. And that's what makes me most proud as you know, the coach and the leader of the team is I want them to be personally accountable for everything. And they're doing it. And that goes back to where we started with I want the team to be personally accountable to be able to exist without me or exist without somebody. And if I get hit by a bus, y'all are going to live because you're personally accountable.
Bus drivers at UL are pretty responsible. I don't think that's going to happen, you know.
I don't always walk where I should. Not worried about them.
Boom. Guys, you know, we've been going for a while. I mean, we promised some shout-outs. Ryan, do you want to say thanks to some people that allowed this to happen? And I know we might not be able to name everyone.
Right. First and foremost, Josie over in the travel office, Josie and Cassie, they handle most of the things that I do to make us be able to get to where we're going. Of course, Dr. Bowie, you know, with the scholarships was kind of the springboard to making it able for me to grow the team.
Yeah.
My director, Sammy, of course, makes it easy to do the things that I do. And first and foremost, Harry. You know, Harry just really came where at the beginning of the semester where I was kind of worried about bringing in this new young guy to take over. And I wasn't at first confident in what he did, but then he just like, hold my water and went from there. And so, yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, going as team supporters, I mean, Joe Spell at Tides Medical has been a huge supporter of the team the last 18 months, as well as Steve and Danielle over at Bennett's Boat and Ski.
Yep.
But we literally would not have a team or a season without those three individuals making the boat purchase possible.
Nice. So you got a new boat, I hear?
Yeah, 2020 Mastercraft.
Nice. Red and black?
Red and white.
Red and white?
Yeah, we had red and gray on the last one, 2019. So wanted something a little different to look at. Still university colors, vermilion and white.
Yeah,
got
that's
as
good.
Close to it as we could. But yeah, the thing looks badass.
Nice. Any chance that I could take a set behind it before I go back to Florida?
Yeah, the boat's in the water. Go
Sweet.
at it.
Nice.
You're always welcome here, as are all of our alumni. We always welcome them. Come back to Airport Lake anytime.
Sweet. Yeah, no. Well, hopefully this podcast will spread the word, you know. Maybe you're there and you see Willie coming over for a set, you know, running a couple 41s.
There you go.
Well, guys, this was a lot of fun. I'm glad we found time to sit down. Anything we didn't say that we should say?
Florida Ski's coming up in April. Love for everyone to come out and
April 25th
join
and
us.
26th.
All right, so I'll make sure this comes out before April 25th and 26th so that people can know about it and come to the tournament.
Yeah.
All right. Other than that, well, thanks a lot. This was
Thank you.
True pleasure.
Thanks, Matteo.
Thanks.